just express this sentiment to you. Having spent my career, or certainly a good portion of that, in the financial services and the banking industry as a colleague of Doug's, to come here with you, that we just quietly call time out for a couple of days, though I know we're answering emails and keeping an eye on smartphones, is an expression of gratitude from me to you that you have not only worked to build the successful enterprises and you give everything to see those endeavors advance, become more successful, but you also, by participating here as part of our Florida Chamber, are dedicating yourself to this. There's a greater level of prosperity for all of us to achieve, and you're helping set the groundwork for this future of Florida where we can all participate. You have been so unselfish to not only focus on your own enterprise and your opportunities for success, that you are giving the intellectual strength, the experience to all of us to benefit from it. So it's just one Floridian to you. I express my gratitude and the gratitude of the Chamber, and to you, Mark Wilson, for what you have brought together with the scorecard, with the pillars, that we can actually build our thought process around what we know is going to be the critical elements for our success and to differentiate ourselves. President Lockhart, pleasure to be with you today. I hope someday you'll consider taking your wisdom to the public policy making arena, and I think we could all benefit greatly for that wisdom. Probably not on your horizon or desired horizon, but I can tell you we would benefit greatly from it. So just a couple of things. I'd like to walk through this with you. A couple of thoughts myself on where we're at today, although again, following a couple of the speakers this morning, I think you have a really good sense of that. To talk about what I believe are challenges for us in the upcoming legislative session, but what I believe we need to look beyond as well, that we need to solve them. And then just maybe a couple of words myself from the perspective that I have as to the future of Florida. So first off, I've said this to you before, I am your state treasurer. I spend time with my 49 colleagues. I wouldn't trade places with any of them. We just had our annual meeting. And the news from my friend is the treasurer of Illinois. It's one thing to be downgraded from AAA to AA to single A. He has now been downgraded to triple B. The expense burden that is placed on the hard-working people of Illinois, the debt service that goes because poor decisions that have been made across time to cover debt service rather than educational opportunities, or the attraction of capital, is a loss they will now suffer for many years to come. And such is the case for many other states. But the foundations that you participate in, such as this very forum, and holding our public policymakers accountable for fiscal discipline, have put Florida on a path where we are more agile, more flexible, and have greater opportunity for the attraction of capital and economic prosperity than any of our peers. So top-line revenue continues to grow for the state of Florida. Whereas you know, we're anticipating about $1 billion more in top-line revenue that will come to the state of Florida in the coming fiscal year than last year. Any state in the union would die for $1 billion in top-line revenue. But that is precious, and I'll tell you what, it is going to be stressed. Because as we work our way through our own financials, we know again by the expansion of Medicaid services that are being provided, half of that growth is going to go almost to serve that need, and another half will go to the educational budget that is already being developed. So when all is said and done, getting all of what might be top-line revenue growth down to new opportunities is going to be stressed indeed for the upcoming legislative session. But again, there are far greater challenges that our colleagues have that do not even have the top-line revenue growth that can meet the critical funding needs of their states. Population growth rate continues to be a significant driver for us. Like, and again, you've seen the numbers, whether or not it's estimated at 350 or 365, a 1.5% growth rate. Again, any state in the union would be just thrilled with this kind of growth rate. With it, of course, is coming significant household income, and again, their participation in our economy. Every year, $6.8 billion in household income relocates itself from around the country to here to help us develop and strengthen our economy. And those states are the ones that were the givers. They continue to shrink and suffer because of, again, the public policies they chose years ago that is chasing away that capital and that ingenuity and that innovation within their own economy. So again, I would tell you, I wouldn't trade places with any of my colleagues. But I would say to you that when you're anticipating so much of our long-term growth and economic success on population growth, don't let that disguise our need and our responsibility to think about the diversifying of our own economy that can sustain us far longer, when again, as we know will come with economic cycles, a softening of that population growth or changing trends. But I'll come back to that. Let me just speak for a moment about a couple of items that are being talked about significantly that need to be solved. They are again, drivers of cost to households that are frankly going to be artificial drivers of cost that don't need to be there, and therefore are going to hamper economic growth and the participation of prosperity for households and small businesses. The first is the workers' comp. I've been around in this process long enough to tell you a couple of things. This is not self-correcting. Decisions that have been recently made within our court system are going to, you may have your opinions on them, but if left unaddressed, are going to place new significant cost drivers within the business models that are ultimately going to lead to less employment and to a more expensive price point for anyone else to acquire the product or the service. That's the reality. We went through the 2003 reforms to significantly try to drive out cost and figure out why in Florida there is the likelihood of permanent total disability 5 times larger than the national average for an injured worker. We know that's a cost driver. Or why so much more of the workers' comp cost was going to legal rather than to healthcare. Those are clearly drivers. So it is time for our legislators, when they can return to Tallahassee, to look it straight out and deal with the fact that if we do nothing, I am telling you, just from experience sake, the 14.5%, 14.9% rate increase that was just announced is just the opening act. If this is unaddressed, these costs are going to drive us up, and it is going to impact our recovery and our ability to see the kind of prosperity that we are counting. Now again, the whole system is to create the environment where someone can go to work knowing if there is an injury, they're going to be taken care of. The gap in their employment time, the care that they need, the recovery that they need, all those, that's what the system is for, and that's, if we can stay focused on that, we're going to take care of the workforce and the relationship between the employer and employee. But if we decide this is going to be something far greater, and a lotto system for a few, then we're going to be in significant trouble for all. The other issue is assignment of benefits, or what is often referred to as the water damages that is occurring in property insurance. And again, you know, it was so well said as some of the cost drivers are now embedded in someone's ability to make ends meet. This is a significant play. Let me just share this with you. In 2010, 7% of the homes in what we call the Tri-County South Florida area had a water claim. 7% of all households had a water claim. And the average cost of those claims was about $8,600. Now, it was far less than that in the rest of the state. But those water claims were running about $6,400. So far less frequency of such claims. So you come forward to today, and now it's 16% of all households in the Tri-County area this past year had a water claim. And the severity of the claims is not $8,600, it's now almost $14,000. So just going in, Citizens Property Insurance, which just 5 years ago attributed about $330 for every policy, knowing it's going to have a water claim, to now over $2,000 for every single policy they write is going to have a water claim, on average. These are cost drivers now to these households they cannot afford. And what's going to happen? Those players in the market are going to retreat. They're going to non-renew. These households lose choice. They go into Citizens, and rates go up on all, and you and I subsidize the difference, and that can't happen and look at the things that we have been willing to face and reform. Workers' comp in 2003, PIP just a couple of years ago, medical malpractice. All these things we've been willing to face up because we're not going to allow the bad actors of a few to force us to subsidize for all and drive out capital and drive out choice and run up cost. Now, I would again share with you that some insights on this, having been at this for a few years. If the narrative becomes, for a 60-day legislative session, that this is about legislators doing a favor for the insurance industry, and insurance industry lobbyists running around the last 2 nights of session, telling people what their client is willing to accept and not accept, you're going to have what you've had in the last 2 years, total failure. PIP, workers' comp, slip and fall reform, class action reform, joint and several liability reform. These were not for insurance companies. This is for the consumers and the workers and the people of Florida. That's who deserves a break. That's who this is for. It's for somebody working off of Haverhill Boulevard in West Palm Beach trying to get by. They want to afford a home. They want to have a job. It's for the senior citizens living in Hallandale, Florida. They can't afford another rate hike because 10 people on their streets are having a bogus water claim. It's for someone trying to get by as a young couple wanting to buy a home in Hialeah, Florida. And they can't afford it because of the cost of the insurance. That's the narrative because that's what's really the story. And we have to get together and help inform the legislative process. We need to take care of the hardworking people of the state. We need to be sure that somebody with a real water claim gets paid, he gets paid immediately, he gets paid fully. But we're not going to tolerate misbehavior. If someone's injured on a work site, they're going to be taken care of fully and completely, and we're not going to create a lotto system. We do these things, and we can be successful. We have to own that narrative because that's the real narrative, and that's the real story. And it has to be solved, and it has to be solved now. Just a couple of things that I'd like to say from your treasurer's perspective. When I look at top-line revenue for the state, I am pleased at a 3.6% growth rate, given what I see happening around the rest of the country. But again, I can't let you believe in disguise that this can be perfect for all time. Anybody statistically aware would know that one subset of the whole cannot keep outrunning the whole. Now, I wish I had answered our chamber survey. I would tell you what keeps me up at night is my federal government, but I can't change that, at least by myself. But I can tell you this. We have benefited significantly because of traditional industries that have served us well. Our agricultural industry, our tourism industry, our construction industry. They have served us incredibly well. And on their backs, and with good public policy decisions that create an environment for prosperity and success, we have attracted capital and people have come to participate. But we know in the cycles that when businesses can't travel to have a corporate seminar, it's painful for us. When families can't sell a house in Jersey to join us, it's painful for us. When a family can't afford to get away and enjoy a little time of respite, it's painful for us. As we look ahead the next 10 and 15 years, this is our time to commit ourselves to understanding the diversifying of this economy in technology, in energy, in life sciences. It's going to be far better for us. And so we can get away from the narrative that this is like throwing money at everybody that wants to come. It's not. It's about identifying who we need and us together with local communities, establishing all the right strategic partnerships to attract that capital in that town, to join this economy and help us diversify. That's what lies ahead for us. Is it possible that we can build a community where community gardens can filter and recharge our water systems? Is it possible that we can build a community with reliable public transportation without a driver? Is it possible that we can build a community where the energy of the sun illuminates our homes and our schools. Well, Sid, we know it can be done, don't we? That's how we think. If we believe that we are a state that provides a place for industrious people to escape from a busy world, to buy time, we would make a terrible mistake. Our brand, our future is that we are a state where industrious people choose to come, to energize themselves with strategic partners, and to innovate with ideas that will change the world for all time. That's who we are. It's not about what we take, it's about what we give. That we, in fact, will be the place because we've already invested in the life sciences. It should be our expectation that this is the place that will solve MS, that will solve Parkinson's, and that will solve Alzheimer's. That's who we are. That is Florida's future. And with that is a top-line growth revenue that is far more diversified and will offer far greater prosperity and will be, in fact, not only a gift for us, but a gift for all humanity. Thanks for letting me join you today. Dave, do I have time for a couple of questions? Or would you prefer I not take any questions after that?